Welcome to Wellness Radio with Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher as your host. Her show discusses topics of health, wellness, and spirituality, and is about discovering your place in this great universe, from your cells to the cosmos. Along with her guest, in casual conversation, she strives to ask the difficult questions that may be holding you back from a vibrant life, and shares new ideas that may inspire you to make a change in your life that you only can see in your dreams. And now, here is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wellness Radio. This is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher, and it's a pleasure to have you with us here this evening. Tonight, we are going to be talking about our secret journey, from darkness to light, from human to soul, to finding the spirit within, the right, the wrong, the truths, the beliefs. So much is going on these days in the year 2022. If you look back in the last 2 decades, we truly have been evolving, even though we might not have even noticed it in the process. People are seeking something different way to live, different way to be, how to be a better human, how to find some connection, how to know that there's so much more in this world around us. And how can we become connected to something other than our 9 to 5, the story that we were handed at birth, the legacy, and the ancient wisdom? Maybe it's time that we open up all of the books and say, you know what? Even they, too, are now becoming novels. We are in a new world. We are now creating from all of our fronts. Today, my guest is Despo Pishiri. Her book is From Darkness to Light. Discover the secrets of who you really are and heal your body, mind, and spirit. What we'll be talking about today is, what are we doing? Who are we? What is our soul and spirit all about? How can we see religion has a part to play in this progression? And perhaps we say, are we going deeper within, or are we creating a new world? Despo, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
So glad to have you, because I think the idea of people these days that say, I'm on my spiritual journey, and they're kind of off with all these books in tow, and they have to have all these definitions, and maybe sometimes that's the process, but I think eventually they end up saying, this was such a journey. Do you think everybody in the past, 2 decades has been beginning a new journey?
I think we are living at times when everybody started understanding that this life is not what we think it is. There are so many spiritual teachers out there, and people are very, very excited to learn about it. They hear about enlightenment, and they're very, very curious. They want to understand what it's all about. Some people get to it faster than others. There are some young people out there that they are already on that journey. There are some people that they started a little bit later. This is because, our spirit guides, our higher selves, will only allow us to get to it if we are ready. If we are not ready, we will not be given the opportunity until we are ready to receive the information given to us.
I think truly, if you look back at it, people are now living longer. So like my generation, I'm in the late 60s, we look at it and we say we were given a book, in the 50s and 60s when we grew up, and we kind of progressed through that. And now we're supposed to see something differently, know something differently. So there are those of us on this earth at this time who may have been awakened, may have been having issues, may have had gifts and abilities, and may have been able to see this all along, yet may not have put a word on it. Yet there are others who might be of different generations who kind of don't even know what we're talking about, because they're already of that essence. They're already open and aware. They didn't drag a lot of baggage in with their soul. don't you think that really what we're looking at, Despo, at this time in 2022 is that there are many different existences going on at the same time with many people?
What I have discovered through my conversations with my higher self, this is where I started my journey. You know, if you look at me personally, a few years I was in the corporate, and I was, I went into depression, and this is when it all started changing for me when I left my corporate role. It was only then when I started my journey that I realized that, life as human beings, they go through evolvement. We evolve, we grow spiritually. We are not all on the same level of spirituality. I didn't understand any of that until, accidentally I had that channeling that I described in my book, where I was, given information that slowly I started understanding what actually spirituality is. Everybody says, or a lot of people say, I'm spiritual, but do they know what the meaning is? Do they understand that it's not just by reading a few books and, doing yoga or this kind of thing? Are we really spiritual? Spirituality, it means when I turn inside, when I operate from love. Love is the oxygen of our soul. Love is all we are. Our soul is love energy. So only when you start operating from love, from, emanating that kind of energy, and move away from arrogance, from negativity, from hatred, all these negative energies that they contaminate our soul, only then we grow spiritually. This is what spirituality means, turning inside. And you're right that there are many levels of existence and many levels of spirituality. And this is what I have discovered through my discussions and through understanding my past lives. All this kind of information that I thought that is good for people to know, people to understand.
And also, too, in your book, Despo, you really take us on a journey through Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity and spirituality, and reflect the stories, because many people are saying, well, I don't really have a religion anymore. I know for myself, I've noticed it over the decades that people, after the war, they became very religious. They truly believed that God had saved them, that, in the early 1900s, God was, they were doing good things and they were getting rewards. They were having money or family or homes or education or whatever that might be. But then it got to the point where, we don't need God anymore. We can do it on our own, and people became greedy. People became selfish or separated themselves out even further. Then we look at the times now in this century of 2000, people's lives are being taken away by pandemics just randomly. We have no reason why. Exactly. People's homes are lost. We don't know why. Money disappears. The world changes. Yeah. So I think in essence, people used to believe that they could hand their soul over to the priest. He could tell them what they did right or wrong, do their penance, and go on about their merry life. And now what we're talking about, as you share in your book, Darkness to Light, is about when you're operating from the inside, there is no more farming yourself out for other people to fix you. It's truly about how are you navigating the world, yes?
Exactly. And you made a very, very important point about religion. You said it right, that a lot of people are actually moving away from religion, or a lot of people from the West, they are moving to Eastern religions like Buddhism and Hinduism.
Right.
When I started discovering and understanding how the whole thing works, I came to this great understanding that there is nothing wrong with religion. Mm-hmm. Every religion, at least the ones that I studied in great detail, they're there to make us better human beings. Because this is the only way for you to grow spiritually, to grow and reach that, the seventh level of spirituality, which is where God is, where we call it heaven in Christianity. The Hindus and the Buddhists, they call it nirvana. We all want to get there. How do we get there? It's if you compare the teachings of the three great masters, Jesus, Buddha, and Krishna, as I described them, they are all saying the same thing in different words. And it was so enlightening, especially by birth I'm Christian, and I always, I was wondering why people are turning against Christianity. Jesus brought the message of love and forgiveness. What's wrong with that message? And then discovering that, it's not Jesus, it's not his teachings, so it's not the teachings of the other great masters. It's actually the interpretation of people, or, the people that have been put in place to teach, to help us grow spiritually. So it's the institution the problem, not the religion. And this is the message I want to make very clear. There's nothing wrong with being religious. Having said that, you don't need to be religious, to grow spiritually. You don't need to believe in any of these masters or, to belong in any religion to grow spiritually. As long as you operate from inside, you operate from what I describe, divine love. If you operate from that, you grow. You don't really need to believe in anything. Even though I do clarify that there's nothing wrong with religion. This is they have given us the path to grow. Right. But either we believe or not to what they say, as long as you operate from the point of divine love, then you are on the right path.
Do you think also, too, that religion over the many eons and all the stories that have been written and all the translations and all of the metaphors that have kind of come along over the eons, it was a purpose because they were reflecting the point in which they were in at that time. So in essence, we believe that religion was this kind of esoteric philosophical thing up in the sky, yet in essence that was taken and interpreted from people that were in the moment. They were, the Crusades, or they were in a drought, or they were in a war, or they were doing well, or it was the golden age of this, that, or the other. So I think that you could almost pull it any book, and you would say, this is a story of how humans have been evolving through and within a concept of seeing something else. And the something else is, how did we get here? Who are we? And what are we about? Yet they were at the time using words that was a reflection of the time they were in. We think about war or hurting another, or you shouldn't hurt another, whatever it might be. Sometimes those stories were necessary to be written that way so that the people could relate, if we went with our philosophical stuff of today maybe and put it in, with the Cowboys and Indians time, it wouldn't relate. They couldn't get it. So in a way, it has its divine message in relation, right?
It's absolutely right, because the people that don't believe or they don't follow religion these days, is because they misinterpret some of the passages. I'm going to talk about the New Testament now, which is a beautiful book. And because there is a link with the Old Testament. The Old Testament is the book, are the books that were written before Jesus was born. And there is, and the early church, if we want to talk about the church, didn't want people to know a few things sort of about reincarnation, because they felt that people will not, if I know I will be born again and again, I will not be a good person this life. So in a way, they were doing it for to help people, be good in this life, without realizing that they removed very good information, or in a way they overshadowed information that we should have known, that other religions, the Eastern religions, for them is given. They understand it. For us, I discovered that those references are there. In New Testament, there are references of reincarnation. But how the church overshadowed those references, or tried to interpret them in a different way, so people won't believe that reincarnation exists, which is a key element for our spiritual growth. If you take the early scholars, or you can call them religious teachers, in the early Christianity, they actually, take Origen, for example. Origen was talking about reincarnation, and for this reason, he was excommunicated by the church, because he was preaching reincarnation, because he knew exactly what Jesus was saying. So it's very important to understand that it doesn't make us bad people just because we expand our horizons and understand a few concepts that they have not been our teachers didn't tell us about, like reincarnation, for example, which is a key element.
Do you think that perhaps by creating all these stories and relating them to the time in which we are in, what we've really done is we've operated in reaction to the world around us? We believe that we are part of that outside stuff and that outside dogma, and therefore we have to always play nice in the sandbox so we can all exist and cohabitate. When in essence, when you're on a spiritual journey, it's so much more self-reflective. It's such a deeper journey that it isn't about all of the outside stuff. You can see a soul, a spirit, an energy field. You have so much more knowing versus just whatever you put on your human organism to show up for other people, to be able to be validated in an outside world. So don't you think, in essence, sometimes churches, religions, dogma, truths, and beliefs are all created in reaction to the outside world? Or perhaps are we now looking at it as, no, that isn't what it is all about? And that right there is where the switch really flips.
See, to be honest with you, people that they are very, very, I would call them religious, follow everything by the book, it's fear that drives them, the fear of God. Because this is what we have been taught, especially in Christianity, to fear God, because God will punish us. God will throw us into hell, only to discover hell doesn't exist. Hell is here, is what we live here, the pains and the emotions that we go through every day. For us, which is part of our spiritual journey, it's part of our hardship. If you don't go through the hardship, you will not grow spiritually. But the fear that was cultivated inside us by the religious institutions that you have to do that, otherwise you are a bad person, you go to hell, made people, so religious in that sense. And when somebody is religious, it doesn't mean that they're spiritual. Mm-hmm. They are not. These two words are not synonymous. Spirituality and religion,
right.
Not necessarily. But you will hear a lot of people that they're very, very religious, going to church or to the temple, whatever it is. They say, I'm very spiritual, but it is a lot of them. They do it out of fear of God. The God that we have been told that is out there after us. But God is love. God is love energy, and we've got a piece of it inside us. So how is it possible that this God that is love energy, pure love energy, it's out there, to catch us, to throw us into hell? And these are the ills actually of the institution, and this is why a lot of people moved away from religion, because they have been put into this dogmatic thinking that especially the people that are intellectuals in a way, they don't want to be put into this religious box. So, but as I said, that the institution has made a lot of damage on our spiritual journey, when I feel that they were there to show us the way. But nevertheless, I think that people started finding their own way. They don't need to go to church or the temple or any of that. These people are already aware. And we have seen a wave in the last 20, 30 years of people turning into spirituality the true way, finding the path taught by Jesus, Krishna, and Buddha, and the other great masters, without really having to go to church or to go to their temple. And I think that is very important to understand, that we don't need to fear God. It's not one of those vicious supernatural beings that is out there to get us. I think that's the whole idea.
Do you think also, to the idea of darkness is what people believed we were living in this world, and that God was the light, and that you had to exist in either one, when in essence, our existence right now in this decade is about ebbing and flowing. We are not always in the perfection of light. We're not always in the deepest of darkness. However, we kind of flow through all of this. That's where we, I think, kind of are right now. And I think the idea, when people think of religion, that they have to be perfected. They have to be of perfection, of light. And they always see anything other than that is less than, not worthy, not enough, not da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And they get into that trying to find validation somehow, somewhere, some way, because they believe they will not be of that perfection and worthy of a God, spirit, soul, or whatever. So I think that dichotomy sometimes is people are just going back and forth with all of these conversations in their head, and they aren't really sure about them. I mean, I know a lot of times when I work with patients, at end of life, I have some that they refuse to die because they are so afraid of facing God. Mm-hmm. Others are like, they can't wait. Still others say, I have no control, I'm giving up my control. Still others will say, oh no, I've got it all nailed down. I've got the perfect death and this is how it's going to go. And I command it as such. So I think sometimes our words the alphabet, all of this stuff that we're trying to reason out. Sometimes when you get into that spiritual moment, the words, the alphabet, the books, the dogma, all of that goes away. It just totally doesn't even exist. And you end up with that peace, that silence, that moment where you exist, and it isn't about all of that other stuff. Do you think?
Yeah. I just pick some words out of there that, that I'm passionate about from what you just said. You spoke about darkness and the light, which is the whole purpose of this book. What the readers or what people need to understand, we only exist because we are imperfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't exist in this three-dimensional world. We would be in the seventh dimension where, as I discussed earlier, heaven or nirvana. So we are here. We are born again and again because we are imperfect, and that's okay. There's no problem with being imperfect. Because one day our soul will be liberated when we operate purely from divine love. One day, in a few lives' time, we will be liberated, and we will live in that different space and time and different existence. So it's okay, we all have a little bit of darkness inside. That's how our soul gets contaminated from our karmas, life after life, and all these energies of jealousy and hatred and arrogance, whatever you call them, these negative energies, that they become our karmic debris. And only when we let go of all those negative, what I call them desires, then eventually we will be perfect. And then we don't need to be born again. So we will have a crystal clear soul, and we will evolve. But the whole message here, people don't need to be in a hurry to get there. As long as we do some good work this life, help others. But my higher self called this karmic remedy. So when you do good deeds to others, these are karmic remedies. It's like scoring points, good points. And when you love and show love and compassion to others, show integrity and gratitude for everything you have on a daily basis, you are clearing your soul bit by bit. And that's okay if you are here and if you are imperfect. Nobody's perfect. That's why we are here. And we are a work in progress, basically. And that is, I think, the message that I wanted to give the readers of the book or the people that will listen to your show, is that it's okay not to be perfect.
Yes. Because I think also, too, sometimes people will say, well, I'm not going to be perfect, so I'll just toss it all in and, go about and just ravage the earth kind of idea. Or, it doesn't matter if I don't eat well and don't take care of my body, hey, it's gonna die anyway. Or people will say, oh, it's okay, I'll just go to church and I'll get some penance. So I think the idea is that who is really responsible for self? And it's yourself. It's, I think that we seem to believe that other people's is in the fix-it business. How do we heal? How do we have miracles? How do we find our way so that no matter what sins we've committed, and how many times, we will always be okay. But yet, it kind of, sometimes those things ding our essence, so to speak, How many times can you perhaps always not eat well, and then your body will say, oops, I'm going to kind of give up for a little while till you figure it out. Or perhaps you do some really not so good things in life and you end up in jail or in rehab, and you'll say, maybe it's time out to be able to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
Or things in your world just don't work out anymore. You see, maybe it's just time to have another chapter or a different highway to walk on. And that's A-okay. The point is awareness. And I think awareness and acceptance is two key points throughout your book. Awareness of where you are, who you are, what you're about in this moment in time, and acceptance of that. But also, too, tomorrow it can be something different. Yes?
Yes, correct. I need to clarify to people that, you mentioned how we should look after our body. It's key, actually. It's key to look after our body because, the longer you live, the more time you have to learn your lessons. And, we discuss about love. Love starts from ourselves. If you don't look after yourself, you don't respect yourself, how would you have, we say, you will need to give a love out. But that should start always with you. Love yourself exactly as you are. Accept yourself exactly as you are. But look after yourself, your physical body, because our physical body is our temporary personality. Like Despo is not who I am. This is just a temporary personality, and the body I am carrying now is the body given to me. It's a loan, basically, to live in this life and learn, like coming to school, putting a uniform on.
Right.
And it's sad that people buy cars and they look after them and they wash them and they maintain them. They don't realize we should do the same for our body. It's very important to eat well, to eat healthy, because we are not here. We don't live to eat. We eat to live. And this is important to understand, that we should really, really look after ourselves. And it's part of our spiritual journey, looking after ourselves, because it gives us anyway more time and quality time to live longer and experience more and learn more, so you can grow more in this life rather than repeating life after a life.
Right.
And it's very important. And yes, awareness is very important. Aware of who we are and accept who we are, because it's no coincidence where we are born. It's no coincidence, who we are, if we are male, if we are female, because on a soul level we are all exactly equal. And we are all equal. Yeah.
Do you think also, too, Despo, the idea is that we can see that there is something operating that's different, and it doesn't have to have all these quantifiers and qualifiers on it, that we will say, then that's where we are all as one. And if we can get to that point, we don't have to keep piling on all of these filters, all of these identifiers, to be able to be seen, to be heard, to be loved, and be cared for. Because then we could see, we already are. Because we are, we all have the vital energy. We all have the vital force. We all have that which, the energy to breathe and to allow our heart to beat. If that was our simple source, and we just operated from that aspect every day, I think sometimes we would say, woof, man, I can stand a little taller. I don't feel like I'm carrying so much baggage. I don't have to collect and be and expose myself to all these other things to be able to further validate. Do you think?
That's exactly right. You pressed a couple of important points there. all this baggage that you are referring to, it's nothing but the suffering we go through on a daily basis. But I find from my work that, because I am a clinical hypnotherapist and I do also spiritual coaching, that the people suffering, carrying all that baggage, is because of their expectations. They create their own measures, how people should behave, how people should behave towards them, how things should be or shouldn't be. And using the measures they created, they get upset because people didn't treat them the way they deserve to be treated. Right. People didn't give them what they deserve to have. But by whose measure? Mm-hmm. Only by their measure, because the other person might have different, coming from a different culture, different values. They don't understand what you're saying. But your expectations make you suffer because you created that measure. And the baggage you refer to is nothing but the expectations we set. And then we expect people to behave that way. But when you operate from a pure divine love, you expect nothing. You do nothing for a return. You give and you don't expect anything back. And this way you don't suffer. Mm-hmm. Because, you do it from your heart. You do it from love or for love. And if you do it this way, you don't expect anything back. You don't suffer. And, and I see it day in, day out when people come and couples come and we talk about their issues. Their suffering comes from the fact that they don't operate from pure love, because if you operate from compassion and humility and integrity and gratitude, you will not expect anything. You will do it because you want it, and you will do it because it's the right thing to do, without expecting a return.
Yes.
And this is what I teach people when they come. I make them write down, and then they come to realize that all their suffering, all that baggage of suffering that they are carrying, is really nothing but their own making. This is a creation in their own mind. And this is how they let go eventually, when they realize what I feel towards this person is not true love. Because if I had true love towards this person, I wouldn't have had any expectations. And I see this, a lot of people that come to me with depression. It's all about this. It's all about what they were expecting other people to be or to do. And it's just not happening. The world that they designed by themselves is not really, is not sort of materializing, or is not manifesting in front of their eyes. And they fall into a very deep depression. Not to say, of course, or advocate that there aren't any other types of depression. I'm just saying the people I see that they come to me, it's from deep, they are carrying a deep trauma, but a lot of their suffering comes from having a partner or children or whatever it is that is not up to their satisfaction or up to their expectations and measures that they created themselves. And this is, I think, is an important point that I am making in the book as well, that we should stop expecting back if we want to operate from pure love, divine love. Then, our suffering and all that baggage that you mentioned will just go away.
Right. Do you think, in closing, Despo, that we can say that we are evolving through all of the teachers of the past, the philosophers, the religions, the all the concepts out there that we've been able to create into our thoughts and our minds, put down into words and teachings and dogma. And we are now sifting through a lot of this, and perhaps maybe even with a lot of the teachings out there, we're now starting to release all of this and coming to a much deeper, simpler time, a time where we don't need to always pull out, a gospel phrase to validate something, or a Hindu mantra, or a Buddhist time to say this is how it is. And we are using our faith and our hope, which is our inner self and our self-knowing, and we're starting to tune into that. We're starting to learn what it is. Who is our higher self talking to? Who are we? What is our self all about? And when we start to tune into that, I think a lot of the times the other stations go away, so to speak, unlike on the radio. And we are feeling more confident. We're feeling more, we can operate with that unconditional love, and everything else just falls away. Wouldn't it be that's what we're really describing, is a time of enlightenment when everything falls away and it's just the breath and the essence, and that's it?
I would not call it enlightenment. I will call it awakening. So people are going through an awakening at the moment. It's what we said earlier. Yes, we are evolving. Right. People are becoming spiritual, not because they believe, as you mentioned, believing in any of these masters or following any religion. It's because they started understanding what spirituality means. But enlightenment itself is a big word, because this is where we want to be. We want to be enlightened one day. We are not enlightened yet. And the examples that I mentioned in the book, when in one of my first lives, the church declared me a saint. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I have been born many times since then. And then in another life, I became the mother of a true saint, enlightened person. And this is where I started my spiritual journey. I said, so how do we grow spiritually? How did my son from another life made it to heaven? And why did Artemis, me in another life, is still on this path? What is Artemis have been doing wrong? And is still here. And this is what enlightenment means. Enlightenment, it means that your soul is crystal clear. You don't need to be born again. But we are going through an awakening phase now. My awakening happened a few years ago. I was in the corporate, and sometimes something really hard needs to happen in your life to waken you up and say, this is not who I am. I am, much bigger than this. Because all of us, on a soul level, we are much bigger than this. We are wise souls that lived many, many lives. They existed for maybe millions or billions of years. We only see our temporary personality because we don't know that we are much bigger than this. And yes, I would agree with you that we are going through at the moment, and especially in the last 20 years, social media helped in a way. Books, it's so much easier to get access to books, to get into lectures. So people started evolving or started asking themselves, who am I? Why am I here? They are learning. So in a way, I think we are living at good times when awakening is happening. But at the same time, it's sad to see how politics have divided people, and you see people showing hatred to each other rather than love. And this is something that is sad at the moment. But we also see millions of people that they are on the right path, and the consciousness is improving. The light, the vibration of Earth is improving, which is a good sign.
Yes. I think, Despo, as that we're really truly at a very, I don't even have the word for it. It is just a wonderful place and time to be in the world. For many, it feels a little harsh. For others, they are so excited every day. But yet, understand that it's all a transition of an evolution. And if we truly believe that energy always changes, that we can say whatever it is, just wait 1 second, just breathe again. We always have these opportunities to be able to say, I too can be able to shift and ebb and flow with the energy, and I can choose which wave I would like to be able to ride today. So I think even if you're hitting the wall, even if you're feeling stuck, even if you're feeling like there is no way out, you don't have to keep going through that as your mantra, but you can eventually find ways to evolve, shift, change, and transform. That's really what the time is all about, yes?
Yeah, I think what people need to understand is that, we will hit a brick wall many times in this life. Right. But we need to be patient with ourselves. We need to love ourselves. And if we make a mistake, that's okay. Yeah. This is because when you start having guilt because, something has happened and I shouldn't have said this and all that stuff, again, you are not kind to yourself. And we said that everything that we do for others, we have to do for ourselves. And people punish themselves because they are on the journey. They think, they punish themselves when they they realize they said something wrong. And it shouldn't happen. As long as we learn from our mistakes and we move on, and next day we correct our mistake, and that's okay. So the message here is we need to be kind and patient with ourselves, because this is a learning journey. And like when we go to school, we might fail some exams, and that's okay. We will study again. We will take them again, only with patience. And so patience needs to be applied to us as well, not only to other people. And just stop punishing yourself. Be kind and compassionate yourself, and in this journey of learning.
Absolutely. Can you share with the listeners how to find out more information about your work? That'd be wonderful.
Okay. I am a clinical hypnotherapist by profession. After leaving the corporate world, and I got into this journey, this beautiful journey, I would say. So people can find more information at my website at www.despopishiri.com. And obviously, for what I do spiritual coaching from overseas, from Zoom or any other tool, but I don't do clinical hypnotherapy over Zoom. It's not considered ethical to do clinical hypnotherapy over Zoom. But it's a wonderful journey, because I see how people get healed, not only from emotional issues, but also physical issues, because my next work will be on physical disease, how our spiritual journey is also healing our physical body, because, all disease, or most of it, is psychosomatic, and I only now know what psychosomatic means, how we create disease in our mind, with our emotions and our desires. Once you let go of all those, body also starts healing. And this is what is important for people to understand, that the minute you start growing spiritually, your body also starts healing. They are both connected. And this is what I do with my clients. When they come here, is not only removing or helping them to feel better, or emotionally, I also help them feel better, physically. I use a lot of other tools like Reiki and sound healing, and I would say to people, try alternative medicine as well. I'm not eliminating the medical profession, but we can try also alternative medicine at the same time, and I find that is extremely helpful. And this is, I think, the end message for readers is that every area has a lot of therapists. They can try something different if they want to find emotional and physical healing.
Right. Well, Despo, it was such a pleasure to have you with us today. We thank you so much for sharing your story and your work, and it's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. If you'd like to find out more information about Despo Pishiri, again, her book is From Darkness to Light. Please do click on the link on the bottom of today's show page to go directly to her website for more information. And it is about understanding something out there is so exciting. You can feel it in the air. You can sense it in your heart and your soul. And you just know that you just want to go on a journey. It's truly about being able to say, oh, let's cast off that idea of the old ways, the old past, and say every single day can be something new. The old might just be yesterday. The old might be eons ago. The old might be a few decades ago. But it doesn't matter. It's about just always being in awareness, openness, and being just so excited about receiving. That's how we are on our journey today. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher. Until tomorrow, have a great day.
Today we discussed many life-changing concepts. Who do you turn to, and how do you know what is best when faced with a health crisis? Dr. Jeanette is a patient advocate. She listens to the patient, the doctors, and the family, clarifies the health issues and concerns, then helps the patient make the best choices going forward. If you would like help implementing change into your life and health, we can talk and see where you are stuck and how to improve the quality of your life. Check the link on the bottom of today's show page or visit dr-jeanette-gallagher.com to schedule a phone appointment today.